I'll start by quoting one of Africa's renowned diplomats, the late Kofi Annan. This is what he had to say about literacy. Literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. It is a tool for daily life in modern society. It is the road to human progress and the means through which every man, woman, and child can realize his or her full potential. End of quote. The basic foundation of education lies on 4 pillars: the ability to understand, to read, to write, and to calculate. These essential life skills are what we call literacy. The United Literacy Decade Resolution 56-116 states, and I quote, "Literacy is crucial to the acquisition by every child, youth, and adult of essential life skills that enable them to address the challenges they can face in life, and represents an essential step in basic education, which is an indispensable means for effective participation in the societies and economies of the 21st century." What is the status of literacy in sub-Saharan Africa? Sub-Saharan Africa has made progress over the years. Adult literacy rose from 52% in 1990 to 66% in 2018, and that's for ages 15 and above. What this, however, means is that about 1/3 of adults, and that's about 222 million people, are not able to read and write. That's a staggering number. And this is a serious violation of very basic human rights. Additionally, progress has been uneven across countries and populations. For example, as of 2018, South Africa had a literacy rate of 94%, Kenya's was 82%, Ethiopia's 52%, and Mali's 35%. In relation to young people, nearly 9 out of 10 children between the ages of 6 and 14 years do not meet minimum proficiency levels in reading and math. What this means is that more than half of primary and secondary school-age children live without the minimum literacy skills they ought to have achieved and which they need to succeed in life. So what's the implication of this scenario? A lack of literacy is a major hindrance to the realization of human capabilities and human potential. It is an impediment to the achievement of equity and of economic and social development. A lack of literacy is strongly correlated with poverty, both in an economic sense and in the broader sense of deprivation of capabilities. 4 is that the female literacy rate is under 50% in over 12 countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And in several countries, it is actually under 20%. These are serious implications in terms of deprivation, vulnerability to poor health, and to exploitation. And yet, literacy can be a bridge from the situation we've looked at, which is quite dismal, to a better situation. Literacy strengthens the capabilities of individuals, families, and communities to develop their full potential, to live and work in dignity, to improve the quality of their lives, to make informed choices, and to continue learning throughout life. Secondly, literacy can be instrumental in the pursuit of development. And this is at the personal level, at the family level, and at the community level as well. But also as well as at the macro levels of nations, regions, and the world. 3, literacy is key to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of eradicating poverty, improving health and well-being, ensuring quality education, achieving gender equality, and promoting peace and inclusivity across societies. 4, literacy contributes positively to women's empowerment in terms of self-esteem, economic independence, as well as social emancipation. And so how can we develop literate environments and societies in Africa? One way to enable individuals and groups acquire, nurture, sustain, and use literacy skills is to develop literate environments. These are environments in which literacy can flourish and where its value is recognized by individuals, households, schools, communities, and governments. But what's a literate environment? A literate environment refers to the availability of written, printed, digital, and visual materials in people's surroundings. And this then enables people to make use of their basic reading, writing, and arithmetic skills. A literate society, therefore, would refer to a society in which the vast majority of the population has acquired and continues to acquire and use basic literacy skills, and where lifelong learning opportunities are also available to everyone. What can publishers and governments do in the development of literate environments? Now, speaking as a publisher, the role of publishers is principally to make books available to people. And hence, the publishing activity plays an essential role in socio, economic, and cultural development. And there are strategic actions that publishers can take to increase the number of people reading books, that is creating demand for books, and also of increasing the number of books readers will want to buy. That's increasing supply of books. There are also very specific actions that a national government can take to create a business-friendly policy and legal framework or environment to provide a conducive environment for the growth of vibrant national book industries. But perhaps we should first look at what the status of book publishing in sub-Saharan Africa is. Well, book publishing is still nascent. It's still in the growth stages. But the good thing is that it is actually growing. It is characterized by inadequate supply of appropriate local language books, even though a bulk of the population in sub-Saharan Africa speaks in local languages. Book publishing is also skewed towards publications in English and French, the languages of status, prestige, power, opportunity, and also the medium of instruction in schools. There is also an inadequate supply of books for people with special needs. And if you look around, you will see very few books in Braille, for example. Aside from the sheer joy of exercising imagination, studies show that reading for pleasure improves literacy, social skills, health, and learning outcomes. And yet, a majority of publishers in Africa almost entirely focus on textbook publishing, often at the expense of the general reader. Reading for pleasure practices, and that is practices that support the use of literacy skills, are therefore minimized. What are the strategic actions publishers can take to address this situation? One is that publishers can promote creative writing. Creating good writers takes time. It needs constant and wholehearted support. By writing, I mean not only printed materials, but also scripted and unscripted performances, oral and recorded outputs, and the variety of forms possible in electronic, digital, and other new media. Publishers can also initiate national writing programs to raise awareness about the significance of writing and to help people think of themselves as poets, as writers, and as illustrators. Publishers can offer continuous professional development training for book professionals. And I'm particularly thinking about editors. And Africa needs good editors who can work with creative writers to produce much better books out of Africa. Publishers can also work with other stakeholders to organize in-school and out-of-school reading campaigns at the local, regional, and national levels. And this can be done through reading clubs, mobile libraries, reading competitions and book fairs, radio and television programs. Publishers can also strengthen multimedia approaches to book publishing, and this would enhance reading. For example, more comics out of Africa, cartoons, games, audio, digital books, and so on. And finally, on publishers, is that they can carry out surveys on reading habits, the needs and interests of people. What do people want? And this should be scientifically designed so that the results provide useful indicators for national cultural policy development, as well as feedback on publishing decisions. And what actions, strategic actions, can governments take to enhance literacy in sub-Saharan Africa? One is that governments can implement national local language book policies with strategies for inclusive book publishing practices. Governments can also develop and implement policy frameworks in support of book development, culture of reading, school and community libraries, book clubs, because this ensures easy access to books. Three is that governments can initiate county, local, regional governments measures for writing and archival of community stories. Four is that Governments can establish creative writing as part of the curriculum in schools and institutions of higher learning. The relevant departments should have a poet, fiction writer, or playwright on their rosters. And finally, on government, is that they can support community level digital and media literacy initiatives right at the grassroots. But what can individuals, families, and communities do to enhance literacy? Evidence shows that a strong home literacy environment promotes use of written material and active engagement in reading and writing. And this should be encouraged in every home. Parents, I think, should also be more persistent in reading for children at home because it has been shown to increase reading fluency. Parents can also encourage local language reading and transmission in the home. And finally, is community members should proudly embrace their own languages, and that means you and I. So what's the way forward? I'll suggest a few things as a way forward. One is states to adopt constitutional, legislative, and policy frameworks that enshrine the right to literacy as an essential component of the right to lifelong learning. Two is there should be affirmative action to support local language publishing. And this would be by way of policy implementation, by funding, and through training. Three is that there should be Pan-African platforms to support financing, training, and access to content, and especially local language content. Four is that there should be private-public partnerships to promote the value of reading broadly at the early stages of life. Five is that local language associations should be established to work with teachers and publishers to develop local language content. Six is that there should be an establishment of institutions to advance literacy and reading throughout the years. And seven, to increase the intensity of libraries and library resources in schools and in public places. I'll conclude with a quote we started off with from the late Kofi Annan, that literacy is a bridge from misery to hope. It's a tool for daily life in the modern society, in the knowledge economy. It is a road to human progress and the means through which every man, woman, and child can realize his or her full potential. I hope most sincerely that this would be so for sub-Saharan Africa. Long live Africa. Thank you.